Welcome back, episode 4. I'm Bibi.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are
Just another knitting podcast.
Still. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And we just want to say a really big thank you to everyone who subscribed over the last couple of weeks. We're 4 episodes in now, and we're just so happy that people are watching and they seem to be enjoying. There's been lots of lovely comments about our knitting and our jumpers.
Yep.
We just wanted to say how much we appreciate it. And, you know, we kind of just do this for ourselves. Like it's an hour that we can spend together talking about our knitting. Not that we don't do that all day every day, but if you enjoy it too, we're just really happy that you're here, so thank you. And just to give you a bit of idea of what we're going to do today, so we're going to talk about this is a pattern review episode, so we're going to each review a pattern, but we thought we'd start just by giving a little update on where our knitting is up to and what we've been doing knitting wise. So shall I start?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So fun story. I have been furiously knitting with purpose because we've got 3 weeks before we go away on holiday for a month, and I've been knitting a jumper that I'm knitting for our trip, which is the Monday sweater, which if you look at episode 3, you'll see me talking about that. And I'm almost finished the body. I should be able to finish it very soon, and then I've just got the arms to do, and knitting a few other things like a sock, a glove, a mitten, and another jumper, and a cardigan. And so I've got a lot on, and I've got a lot on my queue to get done before I go away. So on Thursday at work, one of my staff members said to me, could I please knit a hat for one of her friends who used to also work at my work? And I said, of course. She's a lovely, lovely woman, and I'm very happy to knit a hat for her. So I cast on, this is Jared Flood's first cable hat. It's a really great pattern, very easy to follow. It is, as the name describes, a good first cable because it just has a single left cross cable on it, and it's a really good introduction to cabling. I cable without a cable needle, so I cast this on yesterday. I've had a busy couple of days, so I've managed to get this done in between all of the busy work that I've been doing, which has been great. And my staff member purchased this yarn for me to knit it with. This is the brand is called Vespers. It's a New Zealand brand of yarn. It's 100% merino. I should know this. Vespers 8-ply by Burnt Hill Yarn Company, and it is 100% New Zealand merino wool made in New Zealand. Very nice, very squishy yarn. And this is in the colourway Misty. Yeah, so that's my whip that I've been furiously knitting on, trying to get it finished for her to take to work tomorrow, and then I have to make a pom-pom. I have limited success making pom-poms.
Yes, yeah. Not your strongest knitting skill.
No, I used to make them tons as a kid, and then suddenly I just forgot how, and now I can't do it. So I'm going to practice with some other yarn first before I make it for this hat. So anyway, that's my work in progress update.
Awesome. My work in progress.
Stephen has been hardcore knitting on this jumper.
Yeah, so last time I showed the beginning, or where I was up to on Troutbeck, I've now completed the front, so that's all done now, and really waiting to be seamed up with all of its other pieces. And you'll recall also that I just started the cuff of the arm, so I'd done the ribbing. So there was the ribbing. Mm-hmm. So now it's got more arm attached to it at the moment. So I'm furiously knitting on this, really trying my best to get that and the other one done before we head away to Shetland.
People like looking at
the floats. Yeah, they're not too bad.
So neat and tidy.
I have potentially unpicked a couple of rows because I managed to get the dominance the wrong way around and it didn't look right. So yeah, I fixed that. I was a little bit sad yesterday. I had to rip out about 10 rows because I made the mistake. It was a case of do as I say, not as I do. I didn't read the pattern properly, and I was merrily increasing my way to a giant arm when I should have actually slowed the rate of decrease about 10 rows back. So I ripped all that out, and I'm now just past where I was about yesterday lunchtime, unfortunately. So hopefully,
Ouch.
yeah, hopefully by the end of today I'll be sort of well on my way up towards the shoulder. So that's my progress on Troutbeck.
So the plan is to attempt to get this done before we go away in 3 weeks.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Would you take it as a whip if it wasn't done?
No, because I'd have to seam it. I think that would be a bit messy. I'd need to try and block and seam it. So
Yeah.
I really think that I need to get it finished. So
You might have to quit your job.
yeah, maybe take some extra pre-holiday holidays.
Start
get
knitting
some
at
knitting
work.
done. Yeah. So anyway, that's Troutbeck. It's looking good at this stage. I think I'll get there.
And other kind of general knitting news. A few knitting friends and I went for a knitting excursion yesterday. So we've been trying to do this. We haven't been very successful. My knit group. We have a knit night on a Wednesday night. So some of us, actually this time last year, it was in September last year, we went to a place. We went to Littleton, which is, a local area, but it's kind of not close by, and went to a couple of cute little kind of crafty shops, and then went and had some lunch and coffees and whatever. And so we really wanted to do that a little bit more, kind of. I guess the idea is to support local crafters and suppliers, but also go to places that have yarn. There's not a lot of choices in Christchurch except for the places that we frequent.
The usual haunts.
Regularly, yeah.
Yes.
So there's kind of a couple or 3 main knitting shops. And so yesterday, anyway, very short story long, we went to Leaston, which is about a 40-minute drive from Christchurch. And if you're not from Christchurch, 40 minutes is quite a long drive because it's a small city. And Leaston is a small town, but has really great craft shops. So there's one place called the Makery, which has lots of cutesy stuff like buttons, and it has lots of notions, and it had lots of yarn and all sorts of other knickknacks. So we went knickknack shopping.
Yep.
There was 8 of us. It was a lot of fun. And then to a local cafe and did some knitting. The local cafe actually also had like a basket of knitting that you can pick up and knit squares, and you knit the squares at the cafe, and then they get somebody to seam them into blankets, which they provide to charity. I'm not sure who, but so that was really nice. So they were kind of open to us taking up a big table and doing a bunch of knitting, and we all bought drinks and food, and it was just such a lovely afternoon. Anyway, so my acquisition is that I got a couple of skeins of this, which is from the Makery, which is was the knickknack shop. So this is New Zealand alpaca and spun locally. It's very beautiful cream colour, and I got I guess it's probably looks like a worsted weight. Do you think?
Maybe
it doesn't
even Aran, depending on how it stretches.
It says it's double knit, but
it's quite
plush, quite chunky. Yeah. Locally grown, locally spun. I got 120 grams, which is about 200 meters, just over, to make a hat. So I might make something similar to what I just showed you as a hat. So yeah, that's kind of. I think that's the bulk of our knitting news.
General news since the last update, yeah.
So what we thought we'd do today is kind of do a bit more of a deep dive on a couple of patterns, and obviously we're wearing what we're going going to talk about. Did you want to go first?
Sure. Yep. No, I will. So what I'm wearing today is Carver by Julie Hoover. And
Another Julie Hoover. You're a fan.
I did mention Julie Hoover last time, and this was the other, or the jersey that I was referring to. This was the second jersey that I ever knit.
Oh my god.
So it's described...
I didn't realise that.
It is, yeah. It was described in the pattern as an adventurous intermediate. It was recommended to me to have a go at. And I did it was a challenge. It's a bottom up, all over body cabled, faux raglan with...
So that's what you mean by the faux raglan?
It is. It's not a true raglan because it's knit from the bottom up.
Oh, so it doesn't have the increases as you go down.
Yes.
Decreases
with all over moss stitch between the cables and on the arms. So it was a true knitting adventure.
So moss stitch, and hopefully you've done your research homework this time. Moss stitch is 2 and 2. It's 1 and 1, but you do 2 rows of it.
Okay, fine. I'll take the correction. It's seed stitch. Fine.
Well, I don't know. I've never knit either of them. They look horrific to me.
Yeah, it depends on what people call it, but yeah, I think in general moss stitch, and I'm no expert, as you can tell, is 2 knits and 2 purls stacked on top of each other. So, and then seed stitch is basically alternating
1 and 1
knits and purls 1 and 1.
All right.
And this is the 1 and 1 version, just to make things interesting. I knitted off a chart. Because it was my second knit, I was fastidiously following the chart rather than knitting by intuition. So there was a lot of tinking going on. Because
is this one that you knit?
Particularly,
Okay.
because in the cables, it was often very difficult to tell whether the cable ended on a knit or a purl. To be fair, the pattern actually changed in several places. So again, it wasn't 100% clear. So it was a bit of a knit by intuition, and I got better at it as we went on. So that was helpful. The jersey itself too was, because it was my second, I was still getting a feel for sizing. So I figured you can never have it too large, but you can have it too small. So I picked a size that's probably about 3 sizes larger than what I am. So I do have a little bit of regret. So not only did it take a whole lot of extra knitting to finish, but it's actually quite oversized.
It is a look. Oversized is a look.
Yeah.
And I don't think it looks too big for you.
But, I roll the cuffs.
Which is also a look.
Because they kind of come down a bit longer than what I can handle. I knit the jersey, sort of stepping back a bit, I knit the jersey using Rebel Light, which is a yarn which we've previously talked about. So that's what BB knit Bresse in, and I knit my Redford that I talked about in the last episode, which is still sitting unseamed for the moment because Troutbeck. But that's all knit in Rebel Light as well. But this one's a bit different because I had to hold 2 strands of it together, and it's marled. So if you
different colours.
Yeah, it's 2 different colours held together. So I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be particularly clear.
It is.
He's holding. Here we go. But you can. There's a light blue and a dark blue held together, or a dark greeny blue. And so I knit that up on. Yeah, it's for the forever discussion here is
blue or green?
What's blue, green, teal, all of that. But I knit it on 5mm needles. So yeah, the main fabric's 5mm, the ribbing's 4.5, and cast on I think was 4. So anyway, it came out larger than I would have liked.
Did it when you blocked it? Did it get bigger because of the seed stitch?
When I blocked it,
did you not block? Okay, I didn't know that.
Um,
What would happen if you blocked it?
I think it would get a lot bigger. So
So you will not block it.
I'm not going to block it.
How? What if you have to wash it?
Yeah.
Put it in the dryer.
Yeah. I wonder what it would if it would come out like a wee shrinky dink or something. But
Unwearable.
it would. Another thing I'll mention about this is probably these couple of things more. The yarn itself has not pilled. I mean, I've worn this a bit, and it isn't even looking like pilling. So it's a really good sign. It's one of
bulletproof.
It is one of the properties of the Rebel Light, which I do like, is it generally doesn't pill. It's rustic, but it's not. It doesn't shed or ball up, which is great. And then the other funny story about this jersey was in the process of knitting it. I think Davies mentioned before, I'm a fan of travelling loop rather than magic loop. I learned how to do magic loop on this jersey, and I learned about laddering with the arms or the sleeves of this jersey as they're knit in the round. And particularly because obviously with the seed stitch there's a knit and a purl, and one of the things with magic loop that I've found is that it works okay if you're starting or ending with knits and it's a consistent knit, but as soon as you hit a purl, the tension on the change or the part where you switch and start a new round, or the round begin basically, is much looser, and so you get really pronounced laddering. So what I kind of discovered on my own and then got told that it was a thing was that obviously when you're knitting sort of in the middle of a row, the tension's just fine, and you don't get ladders when you're just knitting straight knits and purls. So what I would do is on every beginning of round, I would actually pull the loop back 5 or 6 stitches, so that way I'm not actually starting at the beginning of a round, I'm actually starting 5 or 6 inches or stitches into the beginning of a round. And so you're
knitting flat all the time.
That's correct. So it looks a bit funny because you've got a loop out each side, and sometimes you've even got a third loop. So a big cable is helpful for this, but it works really, really well. So as you say, short story long, I had completed pretty much an entire sleeve, and I looked at it and I was like, this is rubbish. So I did start again, and so
you ripped it out.
I did. I ripped the sleeve out, and so this jersey has had 3 sleeves knit for it.
But the product at the end is better, so worth it.
Yes, much more worth it.
Because you rip that out once, and you might spend a week knitting a sleeve and rip it out, but you'll wear it for a lifetime, so you'd have a lifetime of ladders in that case.
Yes, so no ladders on my arms, so I'm much happier with it. So the first sleeve was the one that got ripped out. The second one was knit properly, and then I just carried on for the third. So
there's a couple of things there. The first is, would you recommend the pattern? Like, was the pattern itself easy to follow, and the construction was good? Like, generally you like the pattern itself from Julie Hoover?
I did. I mean, the pattern is correctly labelled. I mean, it's a 4 out of 5 difficulty, complexity pattern. So, I mean, I did kind of jump in at the deep end, but I've said before that's kind of what I enjoy. It was, it had a whole lot of new techniques in there that I learned. It mentions Kitchener stitch, tubular cast-ons, tubular bind-offs, obviously cables, marling. There was a whole plethora of new techniques and new things to try.
Yeah, even holding yarn double is when you're new to that, that's tricky.
Yeah, I'd never done that before, having to make sure that I catch both strands rather, and not have strange loops and things missed out. So, but yes, it was a good pattern. I did enjoy knitting it. I got really sick of seed stitch though.
I got sick of hearing about seed stitch.
Yeah, and to be honest, there's a lot of cable crosses as well.
Yeah.
So there was
Well, that's a cable cross every row because that's moving along.
Yeah, and this was my also first attempt at cables too. So again,
And with a cable needle. Did you use a DPN?
No, I actually used a legitimate cable needle for these. I don't use cable needles anymore. I still cable with a cable needle. I don't cable without one like you do. But no, what I usually use a DPN now instead because I find it much easier to anchor a DPN into the knitting while I'm doing the crosses and things. So I find I've got much more control over the cable cross, particularly as in other cases where I have also knit, I think I mentioned Nightingale by Laura Gone.
Nora.
Oh, I said it again.
Still Nora.
Nora Gone.
She's going to be mad when she watches this.
I'm sure she will. Watch this, I mean. But yeah, Nora Gone, as Nightingale has some sort of like 9-stitch cable crosses.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that without
knitting
a cable
in the middle.
needle.
Yeah, so that one was quite intense. So really that was my first introduction to using a DPN rather than an actual cable needle because they're just a bit short and I keep dropping stitches off it. So anyway, before I get sidetracked into another pattern.
So one other thing, and that is the sizing. So you said you knitted a much larger size than you intended.
That's right.
And that, for me, what that was about previously is a lack of understanding of the relationship between my body size and ease, and following the recommended ease, or if you're not going to follow the recommended ease, or it doesn't provide it, because some patterns don't tell you, they just tell you the garment. Being able to understand the difference between those and getting the right size for you, do you feel like you've got better at that? Like, I think this episode, what do you think, guys? Like, do you think this garment, I mean, to me, this garment looks like it fits. Like, it's oversized, but it doesn't look massive to me. Like, oversized is a style.
It's quite...
It is oversized, but it's also chunky, and it kind of has that cozy, oversized feeling to it. Like, I quite like wearing it. But I just wonder, like, you've been on a bit of a journey with sizing.
Yes.
And when we do a pattern review of Rift, that's a really good example, because we've actually got 2 sizes of Rift. We knit one each. But do you feel like you would knit it smaller if you
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
was that just a misunderstanding about ease, or like,
no,
what was that about?
It was me not trusting the pattern. Like I said, it was the second jersey that I'd knit. The last thing I wanted for it to be was too small.
Yeah.
So I went bigger than I needed. So this was a 55-inch chest size.
That doesn't.
Yeah, you don't work in inches.
No, because I live in the Western world.
Yeah, I still work in inches. But so my chest itself really should be on a 48-inch.
Oh, okay. So
that was
several centimetres too large.
Yeah, it was quite a lot. So I've knit different jerseys for between 48 and 55. So I have a few at 51 as well, and 52. And those are roomy but not too big.
I do think, though, because you say it's a faux raglan, but it looks like a raglan, that helps, because it means that provided it fits right up into your shoulder, it kind of looks like it fits okay around the top, like when you look at it. If it was a drop shoulder, that would also help. The hardest thing to fit correctly is when it's supposed to sit on your shoulder cap. And that doesn't fit, because if that doesn't fit, that looks really sloppy. But I think what has saved it is the fact that it's a raglan, so it doesn't have any fit issues here.
No,
it's probably actually just the length.
It's more the length,
which you can't really do anything about because it's bottom up.
Yeah. If I could, I could probably would have ripped out the bottom and shortened it, as I have done on another jersey. introduction to sweater surgery. But yeah, no. So this one I can't and couldn't do that with. So it is what it is.
Yeah,
So,
which is a good reason never to knit bottom up, folks.
I don't know.
I'm not a fan.
I know you're not a fan.
Because I want to make decisions about fit as I go based on how the garment is coming along. And so I want the option to make it shorter or longer.
Yeah, I think bottom up is something that you get better at with experience. Once you've actually knit a few, you know what the length is supposed to be like at certain points in time. Whereas I had no idea when I was doing this.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's Carver. Yeah,
my turn.
Your turn.
So I am knitting the I'm wearing the oh so famous ranunculus. This is one of the most knitted jumpers on Ravelry. It was where do I start with this? All right, it's knit in 4-ply merino plus silk mohair held together, so it's a DK weight gauge. The yarn is a local yarn dyer called Little Acorn Yarns, and it's I'm just going to get my information. Majestic mohair is the mohair that she has, and sleek sock, so it's a sock yarn, and both in the colourway raspberry confit, and that's she did a collab with a local chef.
Yeah,
that makes pastries.
Patisserie, what do they call themselves?
I don't know. A local chef, Corrington, who has a shop called Butter, and so they did a collab. Not an obvious collab, pastries and
yarn.
Oh, I mean it is yeah.
Knitting and eating.
Knitting and eating.
Yeah.
So so I nabbed this. I absolutely love the colour. I think it's really well described, raspberry confit, because it's kind of raspberry coloured. It's not fire engine red, it's not orangey red, it's a very kind of nice deep pinky red, which is my perfect red, I would say. I knit the size 4. I didn't want it super oversized. If you know the ranunculus is very you can make it very oversized or very fitted. And I knit this as my Christmas sweater. So I cast it on December the 25th, 2023, and finished it on the 30th of December. So it was my kind of, I'm at home, it's Christmas time, I'm knitting garment. And I knitted on 6mm needles, which is the suggested needle size, but I did not realise that I didn't get gauge. I thought I got gauge because I thought the gauge was 14 stitches. 16 stitches. I thought the gauge was 16 stitches, but it was actually 14 stitches.
Right. Okay.
And so I thought I was on gauge and I was going to get a looser fitting garment. So it was actually a little snugger than I expected, but it did actually block out quite a lot. So by the time it's kind of similar to you, if I had knit it to the size intended, it would have been bigger than I wanted it, but a happy coincidence. I didn't know what I was doing, and it turned out perfectly. So what else can I say about this? I had previously knit Love Note by Tin Can Knits, and I really loved it, but it was quite a loose gauge. So to me, even though it's knit in the same yarn, that was very much a summer weight garment for me because it's quite loose, so it doesn't keep me particularly warm, whereas this is more of a mid-season for me. So this is more autumn winter, and autumn and spring, and a little like it's winter still now, but it's warming up. So it's a slightly denser gauge, which I'm happy with than my Love Note. And I knit this because I had knit Love Note not long before, and I kind of wanted to do a bit of a deep dive into lace yoke sweaters, learn how to do lace because I hadn't really done it before. I had a few very poor attempts at lace and given up actually a few times and was a bit scared of lace, and so I thought I would knit some really well-known lace patterns to kind of increase my confidence in lace knitting, because there was tons of examples that I could look at to see what it was supposed to look like etc. And so I knit the love note, and then I knit this, and then I also knit Treit by Kate Davies, which also has a lace yoke. That was knit bottom up. And although I absolutely love the garment. And I've also knit Yume by Isabell Kraemer. So I'll review those later. And I have others that I want to knit. So the Catkin pullover, I think, is one. I can't remember who that's by, but I want to knit that one as well. So I kind of want a whole wardrobe of lace yoke sweaters because I really like them. It provides a little bit of detail without having to go full on into the lace. If I make mistakes, it's not too hard to pull back. But it's still warm enough for me because most of it is just plain stockinette. So this is kind of my perfect knit if I want to have something a bit special. Anyway, So the pattern itself, easy to follow. It's a bazillion pages. It gives you tons of options. I chose to knit it. The sleeves has short row shaping. I don't understand why it would have that, but I didn't do that. So I just knit a plain sleeve, and you can have a really loose sleeve or a tight one. I chose to knit mine with decreases and 3/4 length because I want it kind of for that mid-season, and I was knitting it like Christmas is the height of summer here. So,
Yes.
So I wanted to actually be able to wear it.
Yeah. A woolen jersey on Christmas Day in New Zealand is overkill.
No. It's perfect.
Yeah, most people are in jandals, shorts, and
T-shirts.
Yeah,
not me. And I also knit it not too long, so it's a short. But the idea is to have something cropped that I can wear with dresses or high-waisted pants, or I can tuck it into my pants. So that was the idea of it, which I regularly wear. This is one of my most worn, most loved jumpers, I have to say. The combination of the yarn, which is beautiful, and the colour and the lace yoke, and it's very soft and snuggly. I would like the ranunculus is a very well-known pattern, and I can understand why. It's very approachable. It explains everything really well. Very easy to follow. The charts are pretty straightforward. It's a great gauge if you're not a fast knitter, like 6mm needles. Like I literally knitted in 4 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've got mohair on it too. So where did that fit into your mohair journey? I mean, if you knit that back in 2023.
Yeah, so just less than a year ago.
Yeah, so is it one of the first
no,
ones you did?
No, I knit Love Note, and that was also in
So
mohair.
Love Note was your first mohair jersey?
Yes. Mohair and...
Because up until then it was all boucle, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes. Yes, that was the start. And actually, I got 2 yarns at this collab, and the other yarn was what I knit the Love Note in. So I got 2 sweater quantities to knit these 2 jumpers. Yeah, and it's probably the beginning of a bit of a passion for me. Like I really love mohair. I love knitting it. I love wearing it. I love the feel of it. The one thing I really love about it is that for a yarn like if you've got 100% merino, very soft merino, and you try and knit a garment out of it, it pills so badly. Like the Yume that I have, which is one of the other ones I want to talk about another time, pills really, really badly. But my mohair garments don't, and so that's kind of my new trick is put mohair with it and it won't pill. So I have a ton of 100% merino sweater quantities of yarn that I think, I'll just bang a bunch of mohair in it, it'll be fine. And our local yarn shop, Get Flocked, has started stocking Isia mohair, which is beautiful mohair. So I've had my eye on a couple of things that I think I've got a black merino that I want to knit with black mohair, and a really nice caramel colour that I also want to knit. So yeah, that was the beginning of my mohair journey last year. That's what I was doing. And I don't find it scratchy, and I don't find it, it doesn't make me sneeze or anything. It does get in my eyes, which I don't love, but, whatever.
Sacrifices you make.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend this if this is, if you've not knit this kind of garment before. I would highly recommend it as a beginner for somebody who wants to get into lace knitting. And I just really like top-down yoke sweaters. Like, I've knit a few that are just plain. Like, there's the Andrew Murray has the DRK everyday sweater, and Tin Can Knits has also the everyday sweater, and they're both just top-down yoked sweaters, and I just love them. I love wearing them. I love the way they feel. They fit my shape really well. Yeah, so I feel really good when I'm wearing this, is what I'm saying.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks. What else do we have?
I think that was about it.
Great, we got through it all.
We did.
All right, so that's all we have today for you then. So just, I guess, to say we're up to episode 4, and we really, again, just really appreciate everyone who's watching, and especially if you've made it all the way to the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we know not everybody does.
Yeah. And we haven't bored you too much with long rambling stories about
individual patterns.
Seed stitch, yeah.
Yeah. And if you like what you see, do feel free to subscribe. We are we're doing this for ourselves, and we're not bothered if people don't subscribe, but we would like that to happen. YouTube gives you more things if you have lots of subscribers, and kind of we're on the journey for that. So yeah, anyway, I'll stop rambling.
I was going to say more important.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, I was going to say more important for us is if you do enjoy it and you have made it this far, we really would appreciate a like, just so we know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and that we can keep on in the same sort of vein. So.
And also feedback, because I know I watch a lot of podcasts, and I like people sitting down and kind of deep diving. Like, I've just watched Jonathan Days talking about just shawls. He went through all of his shawls, and I thought it was really interesting. And I just watched Rebecca Clow, the Kraemer, talking about her design process on her jumpers, and all about swatching and stuff. And I really enjoy that stuff, kind of deep dives. But if you don't, please do let us know. Like, we don't have to be doing this. But one thing we have talked about, so when I was with my knitting buddies yesterday, a few of them have consented to come on and be our guests. So we thought it would be quite good to have some guests come on and talk about their sweaters. And we have some very, very good knitter friends. And it would be really interesting to talk about other people's process.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. From my point of view, I consider myself still very much an inexperienced, let's say, intermediate knitter.
Yeah.
Whereas, some of the people that we knit with have been knitting for decades.
Yeah. Not that they're old, but just since they were children.
Yeah, and I mean, they are hugely talented, immensely experienced knitters. And
some of them have amazing maths.
Yeah. So, it would be interesting perhaps to get some of their perspectives and hear, from other people as well, not just our own singular perspective as well.
Yeah, so that's something we're kind of teeing up when we get back. We really don't have time now. Like, saying we're going away in 3 weeks is starting to be like, oh, okay, that's really soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we will bring you with us on our journey overseas. And then when we come back, we will bring on some guests, and you can meet some of our buddies and see what they've been up to. So I think that's it. We rambled for another 2 minutes.
Well, hey.
And we should stop now.
We should.
So thanks for joining us, and thanks for making it to the end, and we'll catch you next time.
Indeed. Thanks very much for joining us. Goodbye.